Hello and welcome to Design, Build, Operate. I'm your host, Alex Karim, and in this short video series, we're going to go through how the Industrial Metaverse and HoloLens 2 is transforming industry today. On tonight's episode, we explore the built environment. I hear from Greg Demchak of Bentley Systems to discuss 4D construction and real-time rendering within the industry.
We allow our customers to import the construction schedule, the Gantt chart schedule, and link it with the 3D model. And that produces computer animated graphics. So you can actually see the construction sequence.
I also hear from Blackshark.ai and Trimble to get a glimpse of how new technology is disrupting an age-old industry.
We're the company that created the technology that enables the whole globe to be constructed in 3D so you can fly anywhere on the planet.
I think that's why we have seen such a rapid, kind of mental model shift with mixed reality coming into the construction industry, because it only takes putting it on your head one time for you to understand the benefit.
But first, let's explore the industry with Quam Adewale of Microsoft. So I think the first thing, with any of these videos is to get a kind of sense of the industry and to help me kind of demystify the built environment. I've got Quam Adewale. So Quam, firstly, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
I think probably best place to start with maybe a bit about yourself and also your role at Microsoft and what the built environment is to Microsoft.
Industry advisor for the built environment sector within Microsoft UK. And first and foremost, I'll probably start with the definition, because the built environment tends to mean different things for different people, depending upon who you talk to within the AEC space. So here at Microsoft, we define the built environment as the industry in which serves every infrastructure asset class. So that can be everything from critical national infrastructure, so energy grids, water utilities, all the way through to commercial and non-commercial real estate as well. So the home builders, property portfolio managers, and also the managers of said asset as well. So the FM and O&M space. And we particularly here at Microsoft support those organizations who help design, build, operate, and maintain those asset classes.
Maybe we could delve a little bit deeper into the kind of the industry specifically. There's a lot of challenges, at the moment, rapid rising inflation, supply chain challenges, very similar to manufacturers' challenges at the moment. I'm interested to get your kind of thought of the market.
Yeah, sure. So inflation, as you can imagine, is a particular challenge for a sector that is particularly margin scarce.
Yeah.
But primarily, I would say one of the biggest factors is the changing regulatory climate driven by the journey towards net zero. You look at the UK government's objectives, and you also look globally in the global market, whether that be in the US with the Inflation Reduction Act and the investment that is going towards the transition between legacy fossil fuels to cleaner energy sources. The supply chain partners who deliver these infrastructure assets are going to have to augment the way in which they operate in order to not only meet these requirements, but also keep up with global demand for infrastructure services. Population is continuing to grow.
Yeah.
The world isn't slowing down, and so we need to rethink the way in which we manage, build and maintain these assets to ensure that we drive the right outcomes, not only for society from a net zero perspective, but also citizens as well from a social value perspective.
I'm interested to get your thoughts as well on the kind of the new age of technology, the stuff like HoloLens and one of the big kind of technologies that everyone's talking about right now is AI, and how our strategic partnership and alliance with OpenAI and the ChatGPT and DALL-E is kind of changing the game. I'm interested to get your thought on how generative AI, for example, could impact the built environment.
Sure. So firstly, before touching on the topic of AI, I think it's important to understand and to elaborate on the importance of data in enabling these AI and generative AI models. I think without having the right data in the right place, in the right format, in the right platform that's in a secure and trusted manner, we can't really enable those more advanced outcomes in which we're trying to deliver, whether it be leveraging AI or mixed reality capabilities. The data is the core of that.
Absolutely.
And so I say that to say that our journey here at Microsoft is predicated on expanding our data platform and interoperability, and to serve our customers at the point and the systems in which they leverage. So hence why we integrate well with the likes of Bentley Systems and Trimble, who I know we're collaborating on this series with. But it's important to emphasize that. Now, to your point around the generative AI opportunity, I think it's incredible and I think it's vast. And I think that organizations who are going to be able to latch upon this opportunity within the next 12 months are really going to see their order books pile up, but also as well drive incredible operational and cost efficiencies. If I think around potentially using AI in generative design, so the ability to query historical design models and call upon your co-pilot to inform you around the best design or the best model in which to leverage, or even using generative AI to query historical fire safety regulations associated to building performance. These are outcomes that technology will be able to deliver to us that drive not only financial benefit, but also social value benefit, if we think around what's coming with the Building Safety Act.
Quam, thanks so much for being here.
No, thank you ever so much.
So we've got a sense of the industry, but what I wanted to do is to do an immersive showcase to show what this technology looks like today. And to help me do that, I've got Mark Knowles-Lee from Fracture Reality. Mark, great to have you back. Maybe you could tell us a bit about Fracture and the Join XR platform.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So Fracture is based down in Brighton on the south coast. We're very proud to be Microsoft Gold partners. We've worked on the HoloLens for 6 or 7 years now. And our Join XR platform, put simply, it's a bit like Teams and PowerPoint, but for your HoloLens, real kind of productivity workhorse. It works by letting you upload 3D models from all kinds of sources, CAD, BIM, CT scans, beautifully created models by artists, compose them into structured presentations along with all your other media. And it's plug and play, so you can just get started really quickly.
Awesome. Well, let's load up our first piece of content. So one of the exciting things about technology within the built environment is there's all this 3D modeling happening. And what we can do with technology and partners like Trimble is bring that BIM information onto the work site. So Mark, why don't we have a look behind the curtain and unlock our X-ray vision? So as you can see here, we've blended physical and digital here. We've got digital representations of physical infrastructure that's actually located behind this servicing door. We actually have a servicing room behind the HoloLounge, and through this door, we can actually see with X-ray vision through that. Isn't that right, Mark?
Yeah, and the great thing is that the HoloLens has allowed us to spatially register the content, so it's in the perfect sync with the room that we're in. So whether that's planned infrastructure that's going to be added, or it's existing work that's already there, we're able to look at it with precision.
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely locked in the right location, which adds massive value, as you can imagine. Now, one of our partners in this space is an expert in bringing BIM onto the worksite, which is, of course, Trimble. So I caught up with Jordan Lawver, so let's find out what Jordan's got to say. So one of the launch partners of the Microsoft HoloLens 2 was Trimble. They have their own variant of the HoloLens, the XR10. And so I wanted to talk to Trimble a little bit about how they're approaching this kind of new wave of computing. So Jordan, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate you taking the time. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me today. My name's Jordan Lawver from Trimble. I've been here at Trimble for about 10 years, much of which I've worked in the mixed reality space alongside Microsoft on our partnership with HoloLens. And my current role is overseeing kind of long-term product strategy and innovation for our construction businesses here at Trimble.
So Jordan, Trimble and Microsoft, we've been working together for a while. Maybe you could tell us a bit about Trimble, but also our partnership together.
So Trimble is an industrial technology company. We're based here in the United States, but have offices all around the world. We were founded in the late 70s, originally as a GPS company, but have really evolved and matured this vision over time based off of much of that originating technology of this idea of connecting the digital and physical worlds. That has grown over time from being a hardware-centric business to including software, workflows, very persona-driven applications for various industries like construction, agriculture, transportation, geospatial, and a number of others. We began working with Microsoft in kind of the mid-2010s, roughly around 2015, as HoloLens was first coming to market as one of the first commercial partners with Microsoft on HoloLens. When we saw HoloLens, we were so excited about it because we saw it as this kind of purest form of connecting the digital and physical worlds, this idea that we could empower a user within the context of their physical environment to do more with their work by overlaying data and information and connection to other people through mixed reality. Over, I guess almost a decade now, we've been working with Microsoft on extended reality. And as that partnership has grown, it's kind of found its way into other parts of the business at Trimble as well. In 2021, we signed a much larger partnership with Microsoft around Azure, really with this goal of taking that partnership one step further, helping our customers to connect better across industry clouds, taking various stakeholders, for instance, on a construction project, and enabling them to not only do their individual jobs better, but to help other people do their jobs better, to connect and collaborate better through the centralization of data and insights that you can derive from that data and collaboration powered by Microsoft Azure and the Trimble Construction Cloud built on top of it.
So one of the interesting things about Trimble, the XR10 Connect, and the various other innovations is that you're able to bring BIM, building information modeling, onto the work site. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Fundamentally, humans, they see the world in 3 dimensions, right? We have 2 eyeballs, we see stereo, we understand the world in a 3D context in which we live. And the reality is that before mixed reality, augmented reality technology, the construction industry simply didn't have any alternatives, right? Like, they tried the best they could to take these 3D designs that they were creating for building a building, for instance, and they tried to visualize them as best they could, whether that was paper drawings or on a 3D view on something like a tablet computer, or in some cases massive BIM caves or 3D physical mock-ups. And so I think that's why we have seen such a rapid kind of mental model shift with mixed reality coming into the construction industry, because it only takes putting it on your head one time for you to understand the benefit. The first time that you put it on the head of a construction worker out on the site and you overlay that data and enable them to actually walk through the design, contextualize in 3 dimension with the world around them. And let's not discount the fact that there's a dynamic ability to it as well, right? It's not static like a paper drawing is, right? You can add work orders, or you can make a phone call, and you can see changes in that model over time. It's really kind of taking us to the next level of being able to empower field workers to do their work on a construction site within real context and not kind of faked 3D context like it has been for many years in the past.
Maybe we could talk about Trimble Connect and the XR10 and some of the wider portfolio of products that you guys have.
So the Trimble XR10 with HoloLens 2 is a custom device that Trimble built alongside Microsoft based off the HoloLens 2 platform, really with the idea of taking kind of the base model HoloLens 2 and adapting it into the more industrial and rugged environments where our workers work. So we integrated it with a safety spec hard hat. We added sunglass tint lenses, high ambient audio, Bluetooth, two-way communication systems, et cetera, so that our users out in the construction and manufacturing industries can take the HoloLens to where they do their work.
Thanks, Jordan. Really great to see you.
Alex, thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you next time.
I had the pleasure of being joined on stage at Ignite's UK Spotlight with Greg Demchak, who joins me here again. So firstly, Greg, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Alex. Always good to see you.
Yeah, having me back. Yeah, well, you didn't ruin it last time, so I figured you can come back. Right?
Let's give it a shot. Yeah.
Let's probably talk about Bentley. For those that didn't catch that keynote, maybe you could tell us a little bit about Bentley and then also the partnership with Microsoft.
Bentley Systems, software company, if you don't know it. And the main focus, we deliver software for the built environment, for the infrastructure world. People who use our software would be architects, engineers, contractors, owners. The whole supply chain involved with designing, delivering, operating our physical environment. So these are the bridges, the highways, the dams, the airports, energy and water networks. All of that is sort of in our core wheelhouse. We build software this supports all those use cases.
Awesome. And then, in terms of the partnership with Microsoft, obviously, the platforms are all built on the Azure cloud. You're a launch partner of HoloLens 2. You've been working with us for quite a while, right?
That's true. So that is true, like all of our back-end cloud services. So we do have desktop apps, and then we've built a new platform, what we call the iTwin platform, where all of those engineering models can be stored, accessed, federated, rendered, and we built all that on top of Azure. And obviously, when you're bringing a cloud solution to market at the scale we're talking about, you need to have a trusted partner when it comes to cloud solutions. So that's why we partnered with Microsoft and Azure.
You've got your Xbox controller here. I think one of the coolest things that you're working on is the integration of the 3D assets from the likes of iTwin and Synchro into Unreal, into real-time rendered kind of solutions. I mean, one of the experiences you showed me was, you can actually be an avatar and explore, these kind of rich 3D assets in their true one-to-one scale and in their true one-to-one quality. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that kind of integration and workflow.
No, that is true. Like, Xbox controller, a new type of, for us, a new input device. There's nothing new in the world, right? Like, there's millions of gamers out there where this is how they interact with 3D worlds content. And 3D content. And obviously we've done a lot of work with HoloLens and VR as well, but I think this becomes a way to make interactions with 3D content like easy and accessible. And if I kind of step back for a moment, I think this is something worth mentioning. When we mentioned Bentley as a software company, one of the core outcomes of what our customers do is they build 3D models, like super detailed fabrication level 3D engineering models of what they plan to build, right, using our software. So it's 3D straight away. And they also are doing a lot of scanning. When you're gonna build a new asset, you have to be aware of like where it's gonna be installed. And so that means using drones, using photogrammetry, laser scanning to produce that existing conditions 3D model.
Sure.
And so our iTwin platform, which is running on Azure, is this ability to combine the reality capture data, right, the point clouds, the meshes, with the millimeter grade 3D models in a single 3D environment. Okay, so what's new though? What we developed in the last year is the ability to take those 3D models and stream them straight into a game engine like Unreal Engine. And at that point, that's when suddenly you can unpack, you can suddenly, hey, I can fly through this model with an Xbox controller, I can pop into a VR headset, I can experience it through a HoloLens.
The Unreal Engine, or Unity or any 3D engine just becomes that open platform that you can actually exactly bring in HoloLens experiences, bring in Oculus or Meta Quest experiences as a central point. And the cool thing, I think the biggest innovation that Bentley has kind of pioneered here is the actual ability to bring the true asset into Unreal, right? You're not decimating the model, you're not removing quality from the model, you're not doing any preparation. It's effectively a pipeline between the true kind of PLM kind of iTwin models, for example, into a real-time rendered experience.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, we're actually going into an interaction where the user is not even dealing with files anymore.
No.
They are just connecting through an API to the backend system and then requesting these engineering models, and boom, just like that, it's rendered inside the game engine. And that's just,
and these are like millions of polygons. These are huge files, right? That would normally not be able to be, rendered in real time.
Yeah. These are like assets the size of, like one example here, project that Bentley worked on, where like our customers built is, the Elizabeth line, Crossrail. Imagine how many assets, how many 3D pieces of geometry are in that, or huge. A fusion nuclear reactor, for example. You can access those models and stream it right into these game engines.
Yeah.
And then
ITER, amazing project.
Right? Yeah. And I think what makes it really interesting too, so once you're using these engines practically automatically, you've got a multi-user experience that you can play with. So what does it mean to have multiple people coming to the model together? And it changes the whole nature of how you communicate about a design.
The customer is spending all this time and effort and cost into building these 3D models. And what we're talking about here is helping them extract more value from that, whether it's training, simulation. And one of the key things, in the construction space, is obviously the Synchro platform and specifically 4D construction. I'm interested to get your thoughts on, what 4D construction is and how it's supporting kind of construction workflows.
So it starts with 3D XYZ, 3D objects. And so that's usually in design. And we've also got Synchro, which allows those 3D models to evolve into a 4D, called 4D time sequence animation.
The fourth dimension being time,
of course, time. And how it works is it's not just an animation tool, it's actually that we allow our customers to import the construction schedule, the Gantt chart schedule, right, series of activities and tasks, and link it with the 3D model. And that produces computer animated graphics. So you can actually see the construction sequence for the first time, rather than looking at a 2D Gantt chart.
And you can imagine, like, by simulating the actual full construction phase, not in just snapshots, but actually throughout the entire process, you're able to spot errors and issues. We actually physically can't do that. We can't get that equipment on site, for example, and it saves millions on costly rework, right? And that can push out the deadlines of an entire project.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing. So rework happens in construction. It's well known that about 6 to 10% of the budget of a construction project goes into rework. In other words, tearing things down, redoing the work. And so the nice thing about a 4D simulation is you can do that rework in a virtual environment first before you go into the field. So you use the simulation to identify all the things that are incorrect, improperly sequenced, which could be a health and safety hazard. And you iron those things out in a virtual simulation first. And then when you go and build it, you eliminate that costly rework in the field.
Greg, thank you so much for taking the time.
Right on, thanks, Alex.
So earlier in the video, we spoke with Greg Demchak of Bentley Systems, and one of the key topics we discussed was this element of 4D construction, adding time to a 3D construction project. What's really cool is Greg actually sent me 4 snapshots from a real Synchro project, which give us a glimpse of a construction project throughout 4 kind of phases of construction. So maybe we could have a look.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so, well, here, this is kind of the initial stage. Nothing's been built yet.
Sure.
But we can very quickly bring in sort of, jumping ahead. The steel frame has gone up.
Sure.
Here's the site beginning to be developed. Take it through now, the cladding, the fascia has all been built, and effectively all the way through to the final visualization.
And what's cool about this technology, if we cycle through the kind of whole phase of the project, we actually can have almost a digital simulation of all the phases of construction. And that ultimately leads to issues being flagged way ahead of time digitally, so that when we're on site actually doing the construction phase, we have less of that costly rework to resolve. One of the cool things about Join is obviously, the ability to collaborate remotely, right?
Remote collaboration is really useful in all of this. In fact, we'll ask Mei Lee to come and join us. So Mei Lee's not in London with us today, but she's able to join remotely. Mei Lee, if you'd just like to come in and just sort of point out your view on the finished construction there. So, even though we're a long way apart, we're able to sort of work and discuss this plan together.
I can imagine for kind of sign off throughout the process, this could be really quite powerful.
Well, yeah, I mean, we actually did some work over in Singapore with the Housing Development Board there. Similar kind of visualizations where you take the urban footprint and then allow different options to be explored with teams very, very rapidly, and trying to cut down that kind of review cycle for these very, very large projects. There's a lot of work that goes into producing a design. You need to turn it around and visualize it very, very quickly to allow key stakeholders to make those important decisions.
And I think that's the key, right? In the built environment, there's so much 3D modeling already happening. What we're talking about here is getting more value from that 3D modeling, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. All right, Mark, thanks so much again.
Pleasure. Thanks, Mei Lee.
So one of the games that I've been playing over the last year or so is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Really amazing game. Also a full 3D replica of the planet Earth, powered by Blackshark.ai technology. And so I wanted to talk to one of the team that's actually building that technology. So Gaston, thanks so much for being here. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gaston de Figueiredo. I run strategic partnerships and public sector for Blackshark.ai.
Tell us, who are Blackshark.ai? What do you guys do?
So Blackshark is probably known to folks that play Microsoft's Flight Simulator 2020. We're the company that created the technology that enables the whole globe to be constructed in 3D so you can fly anywhere on the planet. The founders realized that there was something more to the technology beyond gaming, and so the company was incorporated in April of 2020, and we're a Microsoft partner. Microsoft's also one of our investors. And what we do is we apply AI and machine learning to satellite imagery. We detect what's on the surface of the planet, and then we recreate it in 3D, essentially creating a 3D digital twin of the whole surface of the planet. So over 1.4, almost 1.5 billion buildings and millions of square kilometers of tree and vegetation coverage.
I've seen a couple of videos about Synth3D, really exciting because you're actually opening up this flight simulator world to developers. And there's loads of scenarios where this could be used, not only in the built environment, but wider. Maybe tell us a bit about Synth3D.
Synth3D is the trademark name of our 3D reconstruction product, which we produce from Maxar satellite imagery. Maxar is the world's leading satellite provider, and they're not only our partner, but they're also an investor in the company. We process that entirely on Microsoft Azure, and we make that available on a global basis. So for customers that want just a section of a city to an entire country or an entire continent, that's something we can provision, and we announced global availability recently at Barcelona Mobile World Congress. In the AEC space, the scenarios that we're seeing are in things where someone is planning for the construction, someone is doing site scouting, someone wants to get to the permitting process where they have to work with stakeholders and offer a visualization of what the finished product is going to look like. And they benefit from the fact that it's not just the world in 3D with vegetation and terrain models and et cetera. There's also semantic data behind it that can be used to inform their design process and the site selection process.
So Gaston, maybe we could talk about some customer uses. I know you're kind of limited in what you can say and which organizations, but I know you're working with some multinationals, especially in the energy and built environment space. Maybe tell us a bit about what you're doing with customers today.
We are working together with Microsoft on two large energy companies that have significant development projects in terms of energy generation, wind turbines, solar panels, and power plants. And they're using Synth3D as a way to map out the environment, place the finished assets on the scene, and use this as a way to engage with local governments, environmental agencies, individual stakeholders, as a way to garner the necessary buy-in and approvals from the community and the regulatory agencies. Same thing applies to another energy customer that's building power transmission lines. And then in the real estate space, some interesting applications. One is a large commercial real estate manager that has very detailed models of the properties that they care about, and they want to insert this in the context of the whole city and show data about the buildings that's under their management, such as, life cycle of the elevators, what other maintenance needs to be performed, occupancy rates, et cetera. And in the real estate, the residential real estate scenario, one customer is building a leasing application where they get to see the buildings where they have units and what does the view of the building look like, and how, when you look out the window of the unit, what do you see?
What's really cool is that Synth3D plugs straight into game engines, specifically Unreal Engine, which opens loads of doors and opportunities for immersive tech, VR experiences. Maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we integrate with Unreal Engine. We can stream our global content into Unreal, and then however that gets experienced is up to the developer. In one of the scenarios that we recently did, we connected Unreal Engine to a VR device, and that lets the user make their way through the reconstructed environment and experience it in whatever way they want.
So Gaston, thanks so much. See you soon.
Thanks, Alex. Great talking to you. See you soon.
Thanks for watching this episode of Design, Build, Operate. To find out more, to catch other episodes, check out the Microsoft HoloLens YouTube channel. Cheers.